what's different about you is that it's you. Mm-hmm. And your clients want to hear specifically from you.
Hey, Authentic Influencers. I am so excited to be here with Megan Hamilton, and her mission and everything that she has is just so amazing, and something that for sure in like the times that we live in right now and people trying to go from offline to online, like everything that you have to offer is so important right now. First, welcome, Megan.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Brooke.
Yes. So I would love to just kind of hear a little bit about, your backstory, where you came from and stuff, and how you have come up with these awesome 4 pillars, I guess you could call them, that we were going to talk about today.
So my background is I'm a classically trained actor. I went to theater school in university, and then I did that for a little while. And then I sort of got sick of relying on other people's opinions of me, I guess, at auditions. And so I gave that up, and then I went full-time into music. So I'm also a recording music artist, and I've made 5 CDs. I've traveled across Canada. I've traveled into the United States. So I have a pretty extensive background in performance and just getting up in front of people in different capacities and performing, having an exchange with the audience and giving something back. I found myself here in Kingston, Ontario from Toronto about a decade ago, working at a university. And the students that I was, that were part of the faculty that I was in, had these sort of speaking competitions coming up. And I had said, who's coaching them on performance? Who's teaching them how to speak properly and how to, use their diaphragm and perform? And nobody was. And I thought that was strange. And I thought, I would really love the opportunity, because I've been thinking about it for a while. And certainly when we were in theater school, the stuff we were learning, we thought everybody should know this. I mean, just basic speaking skills, how to keep your voice without getting raspy. I mean, just like really simple things. So I pitched it to them, and they were all in. And that's basically when I started putting all of this together. And that's about 7 years ago now, what I now have as these sort of 4 basic tenets of public speaking, which I teach to people. About 2 years ago, I launched my business, which is UBU Skills, and I started coaching more frequently. And I've been doing group workshops, and I do a lot of one-on-one coaching as well. And then just this last year, in the middle of the pandemic, I quit my super cushy university job to finally go out on my own and make this happen.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Yeah. That's so exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a big leap.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Well, that's way exciting. So the biggest thing that as we were looking, and I was looking at like the 4 things that you teach, I was seeing how much people in network marketing, and you were saying like anyone who like has like a bigger company that they're working under and stuff like that, like you need to be able to stand out, especially now as we're pivoting online, that there's in network marketing, there's hundreds of thousands of people that are selling the same thing you are, so how is it that you can stand out online, on social media and stuff like that? And really your 4 tactics are pretty simple. And if they apply those things, it will really be beneficial. So let's talk about what those 4 things are.
Yeah, let's do it. So I just, before we start there, I wanted to talk about something that you mentioned, because I think this is really important. And this is what stops a lot of people from feeling comfortable getting in front of the camera or saying something as themselves. People are afraid of saying something that they feel isn't new. So why would I get up and say the exact same thing that 100 other people are saying? What's different about me? And in a way, the question actually answers itself. What's different about you is that it's you. Mm-hmm. And your clients want to hear specifically from you. They have found you, and they are looking for you. And that's why I called my business UBU Skills. I'm essentially helping you be a really awesome version of yourself. And so as you're going into making your marketing videos, popping on Instagram for lives and Facebook for lives, all of these things that, we need to do in order to be visible, just remember that people want to hear from you and your people want to hear from you. And so what we're doing is giving you the skills to be able to do this stuff, but what you do is just show up as yourself, essentially. Yeah. So let's talk about how to do that. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Because it's all about being authentic and showing up as who you really are and not being ashamed or afraid or anything about you.
Yeah, you're unique. There is something about you that is drawing your people to you. We'll dive into the 4 elements. They are standing, breathing, speaking, and reading. And so there's a reason why they're in this order, and that should sort of come into play as we're going through. We start off with standing. A lot of times people struggle with how to carry themselves, how to stand confidently. And as women, what we can tend to do is sort of lean into ourselves and try to take up as little space as possible. Over time, we've experienced a lot of different things that make us feel uncomfortable speaking up. We've probably been shot down or gaslit a bunch. We really don't like to experience those feelings. And so we sort of learn how to take up less space. And what the standing helps you do is figure out how to actually own your own space and be powerful within your own body. And we do that through something called the Alexander technique. This is a technique that is over 100 years old. It was developed by an Australian actor. He was finding that he was losing his voice after he was speaking in plays. So that's what started his journey into figuring out what is the actual best way to stand for your body. And essentially, this is you stand with your feet firmly planted on the ground. You move on up to your knees and make sure they're unlocked. From there, you move on up to your hips, unlock them as well, and have a slight pelvic tilt forward. Moving on up to your chest, you have it up and open towards the ceiling. Shoulder blades are moving slightly apart and down. Your neck is free and easy, and your head is moving up towards the ceiling. Over time, what's happened, and with research as well, is that this is the most effective way for you to stand with the least amount of harm on your body. Over time, you can correct old injuries. You make it easier for yourself to sit at the computer because you're carrying your body in a different way. You're more grounded and you've got your balance a little bit more centered. It also gives you the sense of authority, both from within and as other people perceive you. So when you open up like that, you actually can feel this power that is emanating from you because you're up and you're open. But what happens, and I have seen this happen, and it's actually happened to me as well, where I had a colleague once who would come in just energy up, anxiety high, freaking out about something, coming right up into my space and needing something and just bringing all of this whoa energy at me. And I didn't really know how to handle it because I'm take on other people's energy sometimes. I'm a sensitive person. And one day I just thought to myself, okay, well, what if I just get into Alexander right now and see what happens? And so I just unfolded myself and came up like this, and it was instantaneous. Her face just sort of was surprised. It shook her into reality, I guess, and it absolutely changed our dynamic. And it changed our dynamic going forward, actually, as well. And literally all I did was unfold my body. And I've seen that happen with clients as well, because I tell that story and people come back to me and they say, I did the body thing, I did the Alexander thing, and then does it work? And I'm not kidding. That is something so simple, just unfolding your body, and it can change a power dynamic. And it also gives you a sense of power internally, which can really help you when you're trying to put your message forward. You can also adapt it for sitting, which is great for Zoom meetings. So the way you adapt it for sitting is to just put your chair back a bit, sit on the edge of your chair with your sitting bones sort of there and balance between your feet firmly on the ground, and then unfold in the same way. It's a really great way to keep your energy high, because, we've all been on 2-hour meetings where you're just like fading at the end. You don't have to speak, but you do have to be present. And you just really need this to be over. And you might have sunk back into your chair a little bit, finding yourself getting a little bit drowsy. If you try to stay in Alexander for sitting, it keeps your energy levels high and it keeps you engaged in your body. So breathing is the next one. And we talk about 2 different aspects of breathing. There's controlled breathing, and there's deep breathing to support your voice. So controlled breathing is a really amazing way for you to get grounded pretty quickly and lose some of the nervousness that we get when we're doing something scary to us. So whether you're delivering a presentation at a seminar or a conference, or you're getting on a Facebook Live, or even just recording a video. Let's say you have a YouTube channel and you want to talk about a new product that you're selling. You might feel really nervous about your performance, and so might be feeling a bit of anxiety with this. The first thing you do is get into a controlled breathing. This is also while you're in Alexander, and that's a really important piece, because you want to do everything in order so that you are being as effective in your body as you possibly can. Controlled breathing is exactly what it sounds like. You are managing how you're breathing instead of letting your sort of lower lizard brain control when you're breathing. Your more rational brain is deciding when you're breathing. And what this does is it sends a signal to your brain that you're not in fight or flight mode, and stops the production of cortisol and adrenaline racing through your bloodstream. We've all experienced it where you have to give a speech, or you're getting onto Facebook Live, or even you have to have an uncomfortable conversation with somebody. Your heart starts racing, you might get a little bit sweaty, your mouth gets dry. Often what can also happen is that you've got so much going on that you start to feel overwhelmed, and then you think you can't really think clearly. Have you experienced any of those things before?
Oh yes, all of those things.
Yeah. It's pretty common. And there's actually like a huge list of stress response physical symptoms that you can have. And it's over 2 pages with 3 columns, which surprised me. I didn't realize that there were that many. But controlled breathing can manage all of these things. Essentially, what I like to advocate is to breathe in for 5, hold for 5, and breathe out for 10. And it's actually in the breathing out that stimulates something called your parasympathetic nervous system, which is what helps create the calm and the focus. And breathing out slowly stimulates your vagus nerve and gets you into a place where you're not producing adrenaline and cortisol any longer. And so that can dissipate in your bloodstream, and then you can start to feel clear and calm and grounded again. And it's actually just as simple as that, as 2 minutes of controlled breathing ahead of doing your videos. I have a GIF that I made, and I pop it on my phone every time I need to do something difficult. So I had a job interview in January, and I really wanted to get that job teaching at a college. And so there I was in the waiting room. I pulled up my GIF. I'm just like going along with it. And people thought, oh, she's just not like fooling around on her phone, but I ended up getting the job. And I felt when I walked in, like I had done myself a service. I'd gotten myself into a place where I was really ready because I'd done all the prep. And then when I was there, I got myself grounded. So it's an excellent way to get yourself prepared. It's also a great thing to do right before you go to bed. Get yourself into a good, calm, even-keeled space. It's very helpful during COVID.
Yes, for sure.
And so that is controlled breathing in a nutshell. And you can practice any kind of controlled breathing. It doesn't have to be the 5, 5, and 10. It could be in for 5, hold for 5, out for 5, hold for 5. That's another one I've heard, which is like a square breathing. The second side of the breathing is to have deep and supportive breathing, and that's for your voice. And so the deep breathing is to breathe into your diaphragm, is to imagine that your lungs are 6 sides, left, right, front, back, top, and bottom. So breathe in with each deep breath, go a little bit deeper. And what you're doing there is making sure you have enough breath to support your voice, which is number 3. So moving up to number 3, we support our voice using something called optimum pitch. What I really love about all of these things as well is they end up being the most supportive ways to do all of the things. So Alexander technique is the most supportive way to carry your body. Controlled and deep breathing is the most supportive way to take a breath. Your optimum pitch is the most supportive way to speak. And so actors all over the world use this, singers use it as well, and there's no reason why we can't. I've been finding, and I don't know about you, that when I've been on Zoom for a bunch of time during the day, I was losing my voice at the end of the day. Have you been finding that too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And so I've been wondering, like, okay, well, I actually teach voice. What is happening? Why am I experiencing this? And so I'm looking into it a little bit further, but what I'm realizing is we're not used to having like a microphone so close to our face, or feeling like we need to project into your computer microphone or any other microphone that you have around. And so we're actually altering our voices slightly because we're trying to adapt to a new situation that we're not used to. And so going back to the optimum pitch, and I'll give you a little bit of instruction on how to find that in a second, means that you are supporting your voice even in a situation that you wouldn't think you had to. So speaking directly into a microphone like this one, if you get up on a stage in front of 500 people, obviously you're going to use special vocal techniques. But what I'm finding is we actually have to use them just on our computers as well.
Yes, that's very interesting. I totally can see how you'd like those two things correlate.
Yeah. And also to sit in Alexander, so we're not sort of slouching and then creating a difficult environment for us to have deep and full breaths and be able to speak from our diaphragm. So optimum pitch, the best way to find it is to take a really deep breath in through your nose, fill up your lungs, have it go down into your belly, and then have the momentum of your open lungs, just allow them to release and make a sound, like an ah sound, and see what comes out of you. This is really difficult at first. We're very inclined to push a sound out or try to come up with a tone that we're used to, as opposed to just letting everything go and seeing what happens. So sometimes it can take a few tries. Sometimes it might even take like a week, 2 weeks of just trying to get the sense and the feeling of letting go. So go gentle on yourself if you're trying to find your optimum pitch and you feel like you're controlling it a little bit. Just keep at it, and eventually, because it's one of those things that you feel, and once you feel it, you go, oh, now I get it. And your optimum pitch will feel very vibrational. And so when you make the sound, if you put your hands on your chest, you'll feel vibrations there. And as you explore sound in your body, you can also start to feel it at the top of your head. You can feel it at the back of your neck. And when you get really good at it, you can actually feel it into your lower ribs as well. The great thing about that as well is when you're really engaged with what you're saying, that will come naturally. So once you've found your optimum pitch and you're speaking in an engaged way, you're really connected to what you're saying, your musicality will happen naturally. And that's how we know, if you've ever listened to somebody and they're reading a speech and it sounds sort of monotonous or a bit robotic, or sometimes people will use, I call this like the newscaster technique, where you basically have the same musical line for each sentence. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So when you're engaged with what you're saying, that actually goes away and you do develop this natural musicality. And that's really important for when we're reading, which is part 4. So we read using something called text mapping. And here's where this is really important, I think, for people who have small businesses that want to use videos for marketing tools, or even for Zoom. What you want to do is write everything out ahead of time, what you want to say, especially if you're doing instructional videos or anything that's, a little bit longer than just a pop on to Instagram. You want to be very clear about A, why you're there, and B, what you want to say. So a lot of times in the moment, we're fishing around for words mentally, and that can take up a lot of our watchers' time. We want to make sure that we are creating the best experience and that somebody's not going to tune out after a minute because they don't want to wait around for you to figure out what you're saying. They just want to know what you're saying. So writing it out ahead of time means that you've mapped it out. You figured out exactly what you wanted to say, and you're using the words specifically that you want to say. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I go and like I lose a word and I can't remember, either I can't remember or I can't find it in the moment. And then you can get flustered as well. So if you write it out ahead of time, you're just ready. You're ready to go. You got it all there. And then you do something called text mapping. And that is where you mark up in advance how you want to say it. And the first thing you do is put in something called a breath bar. And that's basically just like a /. You put it in every place where you've got punctuation. This can feel like a lot of breaths to people, and it can sometimes seem like that, but it works for two reasons. One, it helps break it up so that your audience can also digest those little chunks that you've just said, and you have a little bit of breath between the first chunk and the second chunk so that we're able to take it in. It keeps your pace low so that you're not speeding through your entire speech or whatever it is that you want to say. But here's my favorite part. When you have a breath bar in your sentence, you are deciding ahead of time where you're going to take your breath. And what we've already learned about controlled breathing is that when you're controlling your breathing, you're keeping yourself calm and relaxed, and you're not producing all of the cortisol and adrenaline. So what you're doing is actually you've built into your speech a system where you can remain calm. And that's like my favorite thing. It's just like, makes so much sense. And if people knew that, they would feel a bit more obliged to just to throw it in there and not get up there feeling so nervous. So then what you do is you practice it over and over and over again. And then you whip it up on your computer screen, depending on how you're going to be presenting your video and whether or not you're using a separate camera or just your computer camera or your phone. Have it somewhere where you can look at it, and you read it essentially. So when you've practiced it enough times and when you're engaged with what you're saying, you have that musicality that we were talking about. It doesn't become monotonous or just like somebody reading from a text and going like this the whole time and not making any eye contact, right? So the kick, the sort of like final thing that you do after we've done the standing, the breathing, and the speaking, and we're in the middle of the reading, is that you practice doing something called, we call it think, breathe, speak, which is where you are reading between 3 to 7 words ahead of what you're saying. So you can think of it like a little bit of a loop where it's coming in through your eyes, working its way through your brain, and then coming out of your mouth. But what that also does is that gives you a bank of words that you can then look to the camera and deliver. So in a sense, you're making eye contact with your audience. And even though it's a video, we still really love it when people are making eye contact with us. It makes us feel seen, even though we're in this sort of strange digital realm. And yeah, that is the system right there. And there's not like a sexy way to talk about it. It's like, first you do this, then you do this, and then you do this. And they're practical things, and they can feel like a lot at once. But what's amazing is that even though it's this practical, like, stuff, it opens up for you to actually be able to be yourself, to be visible, to be confident, because you've got a system that you can use. Nobody can teach you confidence. People can give you the tools to be able to find it within yourself. And what I'm finding is that the women I'm working with are coming out of this with a newfound confidence that they probably didn't even think they were going to get when we started working together. And that's just, that's it for me. That fills me with so much joy. And, it does them such a big service as well. It allows them to shine in the places that they can shine, and to be able to really be on their game and do the work that they've been wanting to do in a way that they didn't necessarily think they were going to be able to do.
That's amazing. I love it. And really, I found it doesn't matter like what people are trying to do, but when you have a system to follow, like that's what brings confidence, is the systems of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, So
absolutely. Yeah. Because you know what to do.
Yes.
When you're sort of floundering around like, I don't know what to do right now. You do know what to do. You go back to standing. Okay. Stand, breathe, speak and maybe read if that's what you're doing in the moment.
That's awesome. Well, if anyone listening wants to find more about you and is interested about, maybe some of your courses and stuff, where's the best place for them to get connected with you?
Sure. So my website has everything you'll need. It's www.ubuskills.com. And if you go there and sign up for my mailing list, I send you a free public speaking guide. And that gives you even more details about the system that we just talked about. So that gives you the standing, breathing, speaking, reading with more links and more details so that you can check it out at home and try it for yourself.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. This has been very educational and some things that I'm going to try when I do my next videos and next Zoom meeting too.
Awesome. I'd love to hear how it goes for you.
Well, thank you so much for being on, and everyone make sure you go check out her website.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Brooke. It's been really nice.